When I graduated, my family threw a big graduation party for me. I said I wanted my entire family to be there. If anyone wanted separate celebrations, we would just not celebrate because it was my big day, and I'm sick of that crap. Everyone agreed and promised to be nice to each other. At the party, things were going really well at first. Everyone was having fun. Then my stepfather started giving my stepmother a bunch of unsolicited advice about her daughter and her daughter's autism. My stepsister was also right there and could hear what he was saying. My dad told my stepfather to walk away, but he insisted he knew what he was talking about because he was a teacher. It eventually became a screaming match where my stepfather and stepmother called each other names. The party was ruined. I got my grandparents to kick my stepfather out, but the mood was ruined, and my dad's side of the family quickly found excuses to leave. So I pulled the plug on the party. Each time my stepfather's tried to talk to me since then, I've said, "What's up? The guy who ruined my graduation party." This upsets him. He said it was not fair to blame him because my stepmother acted just as poorly. I said it was fair, and I absolutely blame him. He asked how long I would blame him and keep throwing the party in his face. I said maybe forever. He said I was too old to be acting like such a little idiot. My mom asked me to be the bigger person and let sleeping dogs lie. But I'm not ready to do that. These dogs are very much awake and angry, and no one has apologized to me for ruining the party. Am I the idiot for that? Not the idiot. Your anger's justified. That party was supposed to be about you, to celebrate you, and it turned into a farce. You made an effort to address this with everyone ahead of time, but they still went ahead and did exactly what you asked them not to do. I do know what it's like to have parents who cannot put their differences aside for their children. It's selfish and childish. Sometimes, parents care more about being right and making a point rather than putting the children first. Exactly. And if OP doesn't hold firm, here comes a lifetime of drama at every celebration, party, wedding, birth, funeral. It's exhausting. They can't come together for one day at his request and play nice. They never will. Hold firm until and unless he recognizes that he owes you a huge apology and owes himself some therapy and hard work. My mom asked me to be the bigger person and let sleeping dogs lie. That's BS. Phrases like this are a different way of saying it's easier to make you shut up than it is to make the idiots behave. That man deserves every bit of grief he's getting. Were I in OP's shoes, I'd never speak to stepdad again, or at least for a long time. Yeah, let's tiptoe around the jerk. God, the age-old forgive and forget BS preached by adults who stump all over their children's clearly stated boundaries and then wonder why their children slowly stop calling as often or move out as soon as they can legally. Could you have been more polite and less petty when your stepdad tried to approach you after the fact? Maybe. Do you need to be? I don't think you do. It's not up to you to coddle the feelings of a grown man. Also, when he said you were too old to act like such a little idiot, did you ask what the heck his excuse was then? Good for you for standing your ground. I, female 27, live with my husband, 29. He has a sister, Brittany, 26. Brittany recently announced that she's pregnant with a baby girl and is due in December. Baby daddy's not in the picture. She made a Facebook post asking for money or gift cards to buy baby clothes, and I sent her a message offering up some of our clothes. My husband and I have one son, toddler, who was a summer baby. When he was born, my extended family bought so many sweaters and other warm clothes in newborn and little baby sizes for him that he never got to wear and have been sitting in storage. They're mostly gender neutral in colors like gray, yellow, and beige. Brittany agreed, and we arranged a day for me to go to her home and sort the clothes. When the day came, we went through all the tiny clothes, talked about babies, and laughed. I noticed Brittany kept pausing to look at the clothing labels and Googling them, but I didn't think much of it until she started making comments about the clothes being cheap. She isn't necessarily wrong. My family isn't into expensive brands. I believe most of the clothes were from H&M and Walmart. I changed the subject, and she didn't bring it up again, but then later went off about how some of the clothes looked tacky and how she can't be seen taking her daughter out in them, or she'd look like an orphan. Her attitude mortified me. I told Brittany, if she doesn't like them, she doesn't have to take them. But she's very stuck up. She got defensive and said that she wasn't wrong for wanting her daughter to have nice clothes that'll last. We sat in awkward silence for a few minutes, and I told Brittany I'd leave her to it, and I went home. Before I even got home, she told my mother-in-law what happened, and she was expecting me to apologize for upsetting her pregnant daughter. My husband, however, is on my side and says Brittany was acting entitled. A single mother who only wants to dress her child in designer clothes made me laugh. Tell her baby poop and vomit stains designer clothes just as fast and easy as it stains Walmart clothing. I bet she takes those clothes and sells them. I wouldn't offer her anything else. By the way, it's tacky that she went on social media asking for money and gift cards. She'll probably throw herself a baby shower. All of this floors me. She asks people on the internet for money, presumably because she needs help financially. Then she dares to be a snob about brands? Kids are crazy expensive. Best of luck to her. Clothes that last? A baby is 1 or 2 months in a particular size sometimes. If Brittany wants nice clothes so that her child doesn't look like an orphan, she can go buy them with her own money and not ask people on Facebook for money and gift cards to buy said clothes that she finds acceptable. Not the idiot, nothing to apologize for, but give the clothes to someone who will appreciate them. A year after our mother, female 61, passed away, our father, 66, asked his adult children, female 40, female 36, female 33, me, for our blessing to remarry. We ultimately wanted him to be happy, so we agreed, but we asked that he leave his house to us, as it's our childhood home, and we didn't feel comfortable with it going to another family. As far as the timing of the remarriage, my sisters suspect there could have been some infidelity, but I do not. My father passed away after a short battle with illness, and it turns out he willed the house to the 4 of us, his widow, female 60, and 3 children, in equal shares. I can only speculate why he decided to leave a share to his widow after promising not to. I suspect that he was worried we would turn her out on the street, despite us assuring him nothing like that would happen. As it was, we've been helpful in assisting her with getting set up with the rest of her inheritance, material items, contents of his bank accounts, life insurance payout, pension, etc., which sets her up to live comfortably for the rest of her life. His widow decided early on that she no longer wished to live in our father's house and wanted us to buy out her share. She stands firmly at roughly 1.1 times the number she would likely get if we sold the house and split the profit. We were going to cave and pay her that much when the estate attorney found a deed filed when my mother was still alive, leaving the house solely to us. Every lawyer we've consulted with says that that deed trumps the will by the letter of the law, and that his widow is facing an uphill battle if she contested. Would we be idiots if we didn't pay her anything for her share of the house? My sisters are firm that that's the route they want to go, whereas I'm conflicted. His widow is set up for life, even without being paid a 1/4 share of the house, and I honestly don't think my father ever intended for her to get a payout from it anyway. At the same time, it's a lot of money she'd basically be getting screwed out of, and she's never done anything to us to warrant being treated coldly, other than playing hardball at negotiations. Not the idiot. The deed means your dad didn't have the right to will the house to anyone. Use the deed to change the ownership to yourself and your siblings legally. As you state, your father's widow has enough money for the remainder of her life. You do not have to voluntarily give her some of your money as well. It'd be one thing if they'd been married decades, but it looks like she made out very well for a relatively short marriage. Don't feel guilty that she's not getting a piece of what she knows she doesn't deserve. The mother knew her husband was weak and would remarry quickly. She protected her children one last time. If Big Daddy had not remarried, all those other assets would have also gone to the kids. Tell stepmom to take her bandit haul and kick rocks over the house. OP, your mom was smart. So many kids get screwed by a parent remarrying. OP even says that her sister suspected infidelity. Maybe their mother knew more than they realized and arranged to have them protected. I know you love your dad, but he was an idiot for creating this situation. Your mother owned the house. It now belongs to you and your siblings. Second wife got her inheritance, and she isn't offering to share anything with you. You state that stepmom is playing hardball on the negotiations, so her game, her rules, play hardball. Sorry, stepmom, Dad never owned the house. It was never his to bestow on anyone. I, 28 male, have been married to my wife, Bella, 28, for 5 years. We both met and went to the same college. She was doing pre-law while I was doing animation. She graduated top of our class and went to a T20 law school. While she was in law school, I had a lot of trouble finding a job in my field, or any at all. I ended up working in a kitchen as a line cook to help support us, in addition to loans she took out while she was going to school so she could just focus on her classes. Bella got a very good job in a different state after she graduated, so I quit my job and haven't gotten another one since. We have no kids, a nice house for the two of us, and are overall living very, very comfortably. She works very long hours, so I take care of most of the household things: cleaning, cooking, grocery shopping, repainting the walls, and doing other work and renovations to the house. In the last 6 months, Bella started referring to me as her house husband around our family and friends. I've mostly been letting it go, but every single time it bothers me. I'm already insecure about not being able to find a good job, and it makes me feel even more inadequate. I finally got to the end of my rope when we were with her mother on Sunday, who still doesn't really approve of me, and they were talking about taking care of the lawn and garden, and she said, "Thank goodness I have a house husband for that, or I'd never find the time," and smiled at me. Then they both laughed. It was humiliating. I didn't say anything at first, but she could tell I was really upset and asked what was wrong. I told her she needed to stop emasculating me and making it seem like I didn't contribute anything to the household. We were arguing back and forth, and she told me that she would stop calling me a house husband if I was going to get that upset about it, but that it wasn't an untrue term and I needed to stop being insecure. Bella refuses to apologize. She doesn't fully appreciate my value as her husband. I've stopped doing the chores until she apologizes, and she's beyond angry. She's been coming home and cooking dinner, only for herself, and doing the chores I haven't done, and then taking off to spend the night at a friend's house. I was talking to my sister about it, and she told me that Bella was wrong, but I was being immature in my response. The thing is, if I give in, she's going to keep thinking what she's been doing is okay. I don't even know anymore. Am I the idiot? Darling, you are a house husband. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, or being a housewife. Why do you believe that it's a put down or emasculating? It's an equal contribution to your family and household. It holds value. It permits your wife to work longer hours at her job without also trying to maintain the household. If you're truly unhappy in that role, do something about it. Look for work in your chosen field, or look into going back for new qualifications. You are the idiot for getting upset about a factually correct statement. Disagree. As a housewife myself, I'd be so annoyed if my husband said he has a housewife to take care of stuff. If it was, "I'm so glad my name takes care of all of that," it would be fine. But to reduce your spouse to just their position rather than a person is demeaning. Yeah, the tone is important. Thank God I have a house husband or else I'd never find time to garden, isn't exactly a compliment when it's followed by laughter. The same exact way that someone being a housewife isn't a big deal, but going, "Thank God my wife is a housewife, so I get to come home to a nice meal," is kind of condescending. It's like referring to your wife as "my housewife" instead of "my wife." LOL, and they don't have kids? Like, what's he doing all day? Repainting the walls over and over? Being a housewife isn't demeaning, and it's a thankless, important job for a household. Women understand that, and that's why the term house husband isn't offensive to them. It's a tough job women have done thanklessly for men for generations. You are a house husband. Get over it and think about what that means instead of what other men have told you to believe. My husband is his family's golden child. This caused a lot of resentment from his younger siblings, which I understood completely, but they're milking it. My husband gives them so much money, and they ask for more shamelessly, using their childhood as an excuse. I've told him to stop helping, but he insists he must. It's like talking to a wall, but our kids are happy, fed, and get whatever their hearts desire, so I let it slide. My kids are the only thing that matters to me, and until recently, his sisters haven't tried anything with them. We have 2 boys, a toddler and a kindergartner. Youngest is not talking yet, but the doctor assured us he's likely just a late bloomer. He has no underlying issues, so we're choosing not to stress out and simply encourage him. My in-laws invited us to a family dinner, and unfortunately, his sisters were also present. Context: my husband knows sign language, and he suggested signing with our son because we do need him to communicate somehow, just in case. So if we want to ask if he's hungry, we say hungry and sign it at the same time as our son. We do this with a few things. We kindly taught my in-laws a few significant things as well. So once the food was ready, my mother-in-law was signing and saying food to my son. He signed back. He's begun to do this, but it's his first time doing it in front of his grandma, so she got a little excited. This caught my sister-in-law's attention, and they asked what was up. My husband explained the situation to them. 2 of the 3 were like, whatever, but his youngest sister said, "Sign language? That's a bit extra." He asked her why, and she said, "I mean, there's nothing wrong with them, right? The sign language is just a bit forced. Makes you guys look a bit desperate. I can only imagine the expectations you guys must have of him." I was confused. She noticed and decided to explain her point, even though I was willing to leave it alone. I mean, my brother's used to perfection, so I'm sure he can't stand the thought of having his own child be anything less. But he's 3, and there's so much pressure on him. I know what it's like to be in his shoes, you know? I was a little shocked. My husband noticed and told her to mind her own, but I was insulted. I told her to stop projecting her BS feelings onto my son. She was all like, "Excuse me? BS feelings? My experiences are valid." I said, "Sure," which did sound pretty sarcastic. I just can't bring myself to care anymore. The other sisters started piling onto me too. Long story short, we left early. My husband hasn't said anything, but my mother-in-law called and asked me to apologize because I went too far. My one sister-in-law has a TikTok dedicated to her trauma and posted a TikTok about the situation, and my mother-in-law said it doesn't look good for us. Am I the idiot? She has a TikTok dedicated to her trauma? What? She's a bit extra. She sounds like an exhausting attention hound. You don't owe anyone an apology, and mother-in-law needs to stay out of it. Not the idiot, but you and your husband will both be idiots if you don't protect your children from this toxic family. Do what it takes. If your sister-in-law still has all this trauma from your husband being the golden child, your mother-in-law can take steps to fix what her behavior caused. As far as this specific conflict goes, sister-in-law was way overstepped and deserved to be taken down a notch. Signing is a common thing to do with toddlers who choose to be nonverbal. She was projecting, as you said. Well, if the parent who originally created the golden child dynamic is still involved, don't discount that the sister might have been hearing a lot of, "Oh, grandson is so smart, learning sign language. He's going to be bilingual," without the real context. People that create weird golden child dynamics love drama, in my experience. Ask some pointed questions about what she thinks is going on. The real troublemaker might be mother-in-law or father-in-law.